Welcome back to Soccer Unscripted, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of soccer from every angle. Whether you're a seasoned fan or just beginning to explore the sport, this is your go-to space for all things soccer. I'm your host, Daisy Vigueras, and as a soccer enthusiast, I'm here to explore the conversations, debates, and moments that make this sport so captivating. Alexander Mendoza is a three-time USA Freestyle Soccer Champion and a key figure in LA's freestyle culture. In a city where street football thrives, he has helped grow the freestyle scene by competing, teaching, and inspiring the next generation of players. His skills push the limits of creativity and ball control, showing how freestyle can be both an art form and a tool for player development. In this episode, we'll dive into how freestyle fits into modern soccer, its influence on pro players, and how the culture has evolved. Alexander will share his journey from his first tricks to winning national championships and discuss the challenges and rewards of teaching freestyle. We'll also explore the future of the sport, its potential as an official competition, and what needs to happen for freestyle to grow in the U.S. Thank you so much, Alexander, for being here today. So my first question for you is, what got you into freestyle soccer and when did you realize this was your passion?
We could go back. I've been doing freestyle for now 21 years. I remember the first time I actually even started juggling the ball, and that was maybe 2004. So this journey has been a very, very long journey, but a very great and very up and down type of journey. So I've been doing it for a very long time, 21 years.
And with 21 years of experience, what was the first freestyle trick you mastered and which one took you the longest to perfect?
So with, I think when you start juggling the ball, what we all want to do is just go straight to the tricks. And so for me, the hardest thing was to actually learn and master how to juggle. And I think a lot of people have a hard time mastering how to juggle. First trick, I would say probably a crossover. It's one of those when the first version will probably be passing the ball, rolling the ball towards you, and you kind of like flick it up, putting your one leg over the other ball or the other foot, and then the ball goes up, but doing that in the air. So that was one of my first tricks. And then after that was probably around the world, and then hop the world. I have a lot of different type of like names to these tricks. And if you kind of look at the freestyle like dictionary, there's a lot of weird names to it. But once I kind of put it together, it makes sense. Yeah. So around the world crossover were my first ones.
And you say there's a lot of freestyle lingo. What would you say is your favorite one?
So I have world record for a couple of them. I have one, it's called a heel cross. And another trick that I'm really good at is called a clipper. And I actually named my dog after that trick, which is funny. And I have a tattoo of it too. But I have a heel cross, which is 17, and that's in the world records.
That's amazing. And you mentioned world records. So you're a three-time USA champion. So what was it winning the USA championship 3 times?
So a lot of work, honestly. Just like when you enter any game, you enter any tournament, you always look forward to that win, right? But a lot of people, they see you win and they get excited for you. But that journey really is like an up and down battle, because when it comes to freestyle, it's not, you don't have a kind of like a coach to tell you, hey, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this right. Freestyle is mostly, hey, you're gonna go practice yourself, and you kind of like practice, and if you really want it, then you gotta go do it, right? So I think that's one thing that a lot of people struggle with freestyle, really getting themselves out there, and then really pushing their limits. You winning the 3 times USA champion for me has been like very fortunate to where I was with the sport. And it took a long time, but I persevered and was able to get 3 championships. Yeah.
What would you say is your most memorable moment from winning?
When I won my last one. I think the level was a little higher. There was more competitors. I've been doing this sport for a very long time, so I saw it from the zero, where the level was not that high. Now the level, nowadays, this era has been the highest ever, and I think social media really helped develop freestyle and getting the word out there. So that level is extremely high, and I think that's great. It pushes people to go out there, and once people see it in person, they can actually believe it's real. Because a lot of people think it's like, oh man, this is fake. Now, no way people can actually do this. But once you see people doing it, it's like, okay, well, I could probably do it too myself.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you mentioned social media. So how do you think social media has helped grow the freestyle community, and how has your social media helped?
I think I kind of started before the social media for me. For me, it was mostly like the culture itself in LA. I'm born and raised East LA. I grew up kind of just always touching the ball. I never really had a coach. I never had the funds. My parents didn't have the funds to go out there and like, hey, let's go hire a coach to get you better. It was mostly like, hey, you want to get good, go do it, right? And I actually got really inspired by skateboarding as well, kind of like more individual type of like environment. So me having that type of environment really pushed me to go into like more into the freestyle, getting myself out there, getting myself to really push those limits if I really wanted it to. Yeah.
And what would you say has been the most challenging moment in your freestyle career?
I've had 2 meniscus tears. I had back problems because when you juggle the ball, you're kind of looking down. And then over the years, you kind of develop a lot of different type of struggles. And then I've lost too. You know, with wins, you lose. And so some of the defeats were pretty tough, but they pushed me forward. I think it's how you take it. Sometimes people could, like, when you lose, you go down and you go to that rabbit hole and you never really get out of it. But what motivates me is like, okay, if I lost, what can I have done better? And if I need to push those limits, then I would do it.
And you mentioned your wins and your losses. So in a competition, what has been the craziest trick that you've been able to pull off?
Oh man, those are tough ones. So I will literally be speaking like a foreign language if I'll say what tricks are and whatever. I have never really done a crazy trick. I could just name it. Probably like sets and combos where I'm really thrive. Where it's like, okay, you combine this type of trick combined with that one, transition to this. So mostly sets that I've done. But where I've loved to compete has always been in Europe. I've loved to be around the community where people actually push their limits. So I've been able to pull off some cool combos there and get respect from the community. So yeah.
That's awesome. And you mentioned Europe too. So in countries where street football is huge and freestyle is more common, why do you think that is?
So, I mean, I think it goes down to the culture, right? I think in LA, in United States in general, we don't really come from a soccer culture. I mean, football culture, whatever you want to call it. And so it's kind of like there's too many sports here, right? So a lot of people follow basketball, a lot of people follow football, and there's a lot of things that you could choose, baseball, right? So the culture is really tough, but I think it's growing, right? And in places like, for example, let's say France, Spain, let's go with like even Japan. I would say Japan is one of the biggest ones in freestyle because of the fashion, the street culture. So it kind of mixes out really well there. We're in LA. I think it really fits out here because there's a lot of people that have the same similar culture here. We have LAFC that supports the street. We have like a lot of different people trying to make the movements like Football Boutique, selling like fashion and street soccer all combined. So I think it goes down to the community, what people see, what people are around. And so I think that's why France, Spain, even Brazil, like you think Brazil, they're like, oh yeah, they probably could freestyle because the culture is there for that. And hopefully one day in LA we could get that same culture. We are working on it.
Yeah.
We're out here. I'm doing it. We got a lot of people doing it. So hopefully we keep going up. So.
And do you think freestyle is more respected in soccer culture, the soccer world, compared to when you first started?
Yes. When I first kind of started, I come from street soccer. So I come from like, shout out to Bola, one of my big homies where I started with. We went from street soccer and freestyle. And our goal was to combine those two kind of together. In the beginning, freestyle was always kind of looked a little bit more like a little gimmick, where people are like, you could do it around the world. That's cool, blah, blah, blah. Can you do that in the field, right? But I think social media, the culture has accepted a little bit more. People now distinguish, okay, freestyle, this is freestyle, and this is street soccer, and this is like soccer, right? The goal is to combine all three together. And I think there's a couple players out there that have combined it really well. And of course, making a cool video, making a cool like transition to like soccer and freestyle, putting street soccer all together will be great. So that's the goal, putting them all three together.
That's wonderful. And you mentioned some players that have integrated it wonderfully. So are there any famous players you think could have been elite freestylers?
Tough one, because I think it's what you work on, right? So I would say I focus a lot on freestyle, so I became really successful on freestyle, right? I think it takes a type of personality and mindset. A lot of players are really good at team players, right? So you get those people that are like, okay, I'm really good in excelling in a team. So I could really go well together with a teammate passing the ball, making that run. And then there's other people that are individual, where like, okay, I want the ball and I'm a ball hog, right? So I think there's a good mixture there. And there's been a couple players like Pogba has been able to do some cool tricks. I've seen that. Cristiano could do a couple cool tricks. My favorite all time, Ronaldinho, has been my favorite. I think that kind of motivated me to get into freestyle. When I first saw a long time ago, and this could go throwbacks, and the real people will know this, but Jogo Bonito, maybe also like there was like a stick figure commercial. I don't know if I go really back. There was a thing called Nike Chain. And it was online. You submit your videos, and that's where I saw Ronaldinho do 4 around the worlds. And that's when I was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. And I don't know why. I thought that was super cool, but 21 years later, I'm still doing it. Let's go.
It's definitely been a long journey. And so now you teach freestyle, right? Yeah. So what inspired you to start freestyle lessons, and what do you enjoy most about teaching?
So for me, it's very personal, because I never really had a chance or for anybody to really teach me how to do this stuff. And when I kind of started, I was just by myself, kind of struggled. What I learned in 2 years, somebody could probably learn now in like months. And that's because now freestyle is more accessible for people. And if I could be that tool for example, myself to teach somebody else and help them excel even further, I want to be that for them. And I think for me, I find passion on just seeing kids smiling, mastering something, seeing their discipline on learning how to do a trick. Juggling is hard. Like a lot of people quit, and it kind of sucks because I've seen a lot of people get into freestyle because they like it. But when as soon as they have to go practice and go do it every day and be disciplined to do it 1 hour, 2 hours a day, then we lose them. And it kind of sucks because I mean, it takes a certain type of person. So when I see a kid working their ass off, sorry if I say that, I don't know if you can say that, but when I see a kid really putting in the work, it makes me really happy. And once they learn the trick and I see their smile and they say like, oh, can I see the video? That will makes my day, and that's what keeps me pushing forward. And if I could be a tool for them, even better.
That's great. And you also mentioned like facing motivation challenges. So are there any other challenges that kids face when learning freestyle, and how do you help them overcome it?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it is just repeating. And I think that goes with anything, right? So juggling has always been a hard thing for a lot of people. Breaking through certain challenges, say today's goal is to beat 10 juggles, and then to do that every day until you reach 20, until you reach 30. So juggling is really hard for a lot of kids, especially if they're young. So let's just say a kid is like about 8 years old. They're a little shorter, right? So their knees are not that developed yet. So their juggling style and the way they're going to juggle is a little different compared to somebody that's like 13, 14 years old. They have longer legs and be able to actually control their motor skills, right? So I think that plays a big factor as well, but not entirely. I still think freestyle could be for any age, because freestyle should be the way it is. Whatever you want to do with the ball, it's freestyle.
And in soccer, we have the fundamentals, right? So what do you think are the fundamentals to teach kids in freestyle?
Okay, so I think in general, like if you got your juggling down, that's 1A. I think that's the most important one. A lot of people want to learn how to do it around the world. I think that's the most popular trick out there. I go anywhere and I see a little person, like I see a kid trying to do it around the world. I always try to help them because I'm like, yo, if you're trying to do it around the world, I got you. Let me try to kind of give you pointers out there. So I think, that's one of the basics ones. And around the world, crossover, hop the world. Those 3 tricks, I would say, are every trick. So mastering those 3 will probably being used so much more in your locker. So you could do.
That's some amazing insight. And moving towards growing the freestyle scene, what do you think needs to happen for freestyle to become bigger in the US?
I think it's a culture type thing. I think if we really accept it, we support each other. I think biggest key is supporting each other, getting people to, if you make a video, let me shout out you. What you did amazing. Let's meet up. Let's hang out. Let's learn from each other. I think that's the only way we really get to like grow as a sport. We have grown a lot before. when I started, there was only about 3 people doing freestyle in all USA. And I was one of them, right? I was a kid in East LA, and there was like about 2 other freestylers in the East Coast, and we used to chat online before like Instagram, before like YouTube, before all that stuff. There was like forums, and I would chat with people from all around the world because I was the only one in LA that knows how to do any type of tricks. So I think just being able to like really communicate, really try to hop each other up and hype each other up.
And with a growing freestyle community, do you think freestyle could ever become an Olympic sport?
That's a question that I think I've always kind of like contemplated in my head if it's possible. I think it's definitely possible. Breakdance just happened in Rebel Streets, like Rebel and the Olympics. So I think since breakdance could do it, why can't freestyle be, right? So hopefully, I think it's a possibility. It's just when it comes to freestyle and breakdance, it's all opinion type of judges. There's no like right or wrong. It's just based off experienced judges that know what the sport is going through and where it should be at, and kind of really choosing who is the winner. And I think that's all opinion. So it's really hard to score points like that. So I think it's possible. I'm going to strive for it, hopefully one day, but that's where we're at, yeah.
And with that, what's next for you in the freestyle world? Any competitions, projects, or collaborations coming up?
Yes, so we have a competition coming up, foreign. This is one of my friend's brands. We're doing a competition here in LA next month. We have an open invitation for everybody. A couple of things with San Diego FC. For me, I've always just try to teach, keep it active. I have a lot of things coming up with just lessons. I see a lot of improvement in some of my kids, so I want to push that forward. Even myself, coming back from my 2 injuries that I came back, my goal is to get healthier, and push my limits. Competing in Super Bowl, which is in Czech Republic this year, and a couple more hopefully. So a couple things.
That's some great stuff that you have coming up. And to end this off, if someone wants to start freestyle today, what is the best piece of advice you'd give them?
Hit me up. Just kidding. I think grab a ball, put some music and let the ball just do the work for you. You got to just be able to have an open mind. There's a lot of tools out there, YouTube, Instagram. If you want tips, you can also check me out. I would never deny anybody, even if I just have to send a message or whatever. I think just going out there with a ball, put some music, maybe a little coffee, get yourself going, and just jam.
You've given some amazing insights, and it's been a pleasure having you on Soccer Unscripted, Alexander.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Once again, thanks for kicking it with me here at Soccer Unscripted. I'm your host, Daisy Vigueras, and this is The End of the Game.